This is my story. This is my song.
All right, we're back in Matthew, the 4th chapter, finishing up with the temptations that are being put at Christ. And then after that, we're going to be over in John, the 2nd chapter. So it's going to happen pretty quickly. So, Matthew chapter 4. We're down at verse 8. And again, the devil took him to a very high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world and all their glory. And he said to him, all these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, begone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. So it just turns to him and says, get away. I've had enough. So we know that as we looked at the various temptations, lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, right? And we saw the way that he responded. Man shall live, in verse 4, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And then we saw in verse 6, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written. He challenges him, throws the if clause, if you are. And Jesus said, on the other hand, it is written, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. So he comes back with that. You can't do that. You cannot tempt the Lord your God. And then you get here, and he tries to give him all the kingdoms of the world. Begone, Satan. Begone. When Satan is troubling us and vexing us, do we do that?
It's hard never to do that because you're involved in something that's dragging you in.
Okay.
Because you have some involvement with it.
Okay. There are times where I'll get a thought in my head and I'll go, get out of there. And I will audibly say that, not that loud, but it'll be an audible, kind of like a quarterback changing the play at the line of scrimmage. But most of you don't follow football, so you don't follow that. Adam knew what I was talking about. The rest of you go, huh? Okay. Oh, you would, because you prohibited your husband from watching football. He talks to me all the time about it. Clandestinely. But anyways, that's what you got to do. He is looking to get you. He tried to get Christ. Lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, pride of life. We looked at Hebrews, the 2nd chapter last week, and we looked at the 4th chapter. He had to be tempted in all things as we are, and yet he was without sin. Why? Because he could then become a faithful and acceptable high priest. Yes, ma'am.
Satan has been doing this since the creation.
Yes.
Lust of the eye, pride of life, Adam and Eve.
Yep. And he will not stop. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. It seems like we always say Satan made us do something. He can't make you do anything. He can only put the temptation in front of you. You have to cross the line. So he doesn't make you do anything. So we have to stop saying, oh, the devil made me do it, or Satan got his hand on me. No, he just put it in front of you, and you decided of your own free will to go for it.
So you're saying Flip Wilson was wrong? And you are absolutely right. But that man made a ton of money on that. The devil made me do it. Go ahead.
The key thing here is he knows where our weak areas are.
Oh, yes.
And that's what the temptation is. It's in our weak area.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to be faltering and stumbling, that's the area it'll happen in.
Exactly. In the realm of sports, you study the other team. Brittany is now becoming an aficionado of all things hockey. So Brittany knows the schematics and plays of the various teams, right? Go along with me, Brittany. Okay. She's really enjoying. She'll call Adam and she'll talk about the power play and why did they call icing and why did they do this and why did they do that? And if they wouldn't have done that, they would have won. And I speak tongue in cheek a little bit, a whole lot. But Brittany's starting to look at hockey. Are you starting to learn more about it? Okay. Is Jason letting you watch it in real time? I got to talk to that boy. All right. Anyways, what you do in sports, is you look for the weakness. You look for the weakness. And there's a thing in hockey, and I'm not a big fan of hockey, but it's called a power play. And a power play is when the other team is down at least one player. And that gives the one team an advantage. And the reason they're down a player is because that player got into a fight or had an infraction of some sort. And so you're in the penalty box for 2 minutes mostly, or it can be a major and be there 5 or so. And so when that weakness is evident, you see the team that has the correct number of players, they go into hyperdrive, trying to score as many points as they can because they have the advantage. John's right. When Satan knows your weakness, he goes into hyperdrive. Here's where I can get him. Go ahead, Jim, you had a thought.
Well, I'm saying I think that we need to know our weakness and prepare for that if it comes along. So when that temptation comes, that thought or what I think I want to do here and it's not right to do, I'm already saying, no, I know I'm selfish. This is for me. And if you want to do an analogy on sports, though, what they do is the greatest thing in sports or in our lives is preparation. Find out in your own life what makes you tick, so to speak, as far as what you prefer, what you like, what your ideas are, what your motivations are. And, they could be little things. That wasn't too bad. But it's a weakness if we're going to go against what we should have done. So I think the best thing is to, and what do we do with the Lord's table? We analyze ourselves. And I think we should do that every so often because Satan is after us meaning those who obey the gospel. He's not the world. He don't care about the world. They're already lost. I mean, he wants us because God has us now. He doesn't want God to have us. So I think we really need to examine ourselves and say, all the time and say, you know what? I kind of fudged a little on that one. I want to build up against that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how we improve our character. That's how we improve our decision-making, is to analyze our own self and say, you know what? I kind of said that to kind of get a dig on, but that's not the way God would want me to be.
No, and that's the thrust, primarily the New Testament. When Paul writes the letters, when Peter writes the letters, they're challenging him, saying, look, is this a weakness with you? Is this somewhere where Satan's going to take advantage of you? Jude does that in his book. He writes, I was wanting to write to you about the commonality of faith we have, but I see where there's a little discrepancy here. We need to strengthen this so that you don't get carried away because Satan's out to get you. Go ahead, Mr. Jason.
You were talking about hockey, and I thought of it and made me chuckle. In hockey, when a person is in the penalty box, they call it sitting in the city bin.
Yep.
So it's funny because.
I wasn't going to go there because most people wouldn't have known it.
It's just funny because they understand the player has done something they ought not to. And so he's in the sin bin. I think it's funny because we're using an analogy or actual sin versus a comparison. So it just reinforces that idea that we all understand there's things we ought not to do. And if and when we do, there could be consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. We could go on and talk on this for quite a while, but we realize it. We realize as we look at ourselves, as we examine ourselves, and yeah, we should do it as we approach the Lord's table on Sunday morning. But we need to examine ourselves day by day and look at ourselves. We're getting challenged by things that are gonna trouble us. And we need to get stronger. And if Jesus was put to such temptation, what about us? We're easy prey compared to him. So let's go back into Matthew 4. So he said, "Begone, Satan." Verse 11, then the devil left him. Behold, angels came and began to minister to him. Now, if memory serves me correctly, I think Luke also touches on this a little bit. Yeah, 4:13. Luke 4:13. And when the devil had finished every temptation, eye, flesh, pride of life, he departed from him until an opportune time. What does opportune time mean? When I'm going to come back and get him. I'm not done with him at all. I'm not done. So, can you think of another time Jesus was tempted? Jason says, yeah, when?
Well, it doesn't expressly say it's a temptation, but I've often thought of Jesus on the cross.
Yep.
Being blasphemed and them saying, he saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the Son of God, let him come down and we will believe him. Again, the Bible doesn't expressly say, but thinking from the perspective of humankind, I know if one is taunted, there's often that temptation to respond. So that's just an example on the cross, of course. Leading up to that is trial. First or Second Peter talks about, when reviled, he kept quiet.
Reviled not, yeah.
And so I would imagine those would likely be situations where there was a temptation to revile in return, respond in kind, or come down from the cross.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking as well, the flesh is willing, the spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. The whole aspect of going to the cross. And like Jason's talking about the interaction on the cross. But also, he's human. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Raindrops was wet like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Cindy.
That also when he was telling his apostles that he was going to die, and Peter was like, no. I would think that would be a temptation because he loved them so much and they were hurting just to think that would happen to him.
Yeah.
And plus he did say, get behind me.
Get behind me. Yeah, get behind me.
So, yeah.
No. But just now put yourself in his shoes for a minute. You're hanging around with 12 guys. You're walking from city to city to city. There's tension wherever you go. At least the last year and a half. And they're kind of disappointing you at various times. Are you going to get short with them? If you had to spend 18 months with Janice, Would you get short with her? No, let's make it even more. If you had to spend 18 months with me, would I wear on your nerves?
18 minutes, yeah.
18 minutes.
Hey, okay, but my point is this. People wear on us. We get fried with people.
Well, he does kind of call them out from time to time.
Yeah, but he does not sin.
No, he doesn't sin, but he gets, how long have you been with me? You still
Don't see it. Yeah. So all of the things we go through, but he doesn't sin. Go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking about also where Christ is talking about Peter to Peter, and to John, and says, don't worry about him. He's being taken care of differently than you are.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stuff drags on you because here you got one disciple thinking you're giving priority treatment over another disciple.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to tell them, I'm taking care of all you guys. I'm seeing to all your needs. And I'm trying to teach you. And I'm spending 3 years with you to teach you what you need to do because I'm not going to be here forever.
Right.
I'm going to be leaving and you have to take it.
Right. So just people issues.
Yes.
And people issues get to us. And we can't let them. And Satan knows how to work people issues. And he works them on us. So the temptation was of such a degree that notice that the angels came and began to minister to him. I mean, he was worn out. They needed to give him attention. He was spent. Yeah, he was spent. And he had no one in a physical sense who could provide him with what he needed then. We have to have that for one another. We have to be able to revive one another. People are going through a lot of difficulties, and we need to be able to lift them up. Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking about Jesus spending time with Satan and you saying spending time with you or people spending time with me.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm
So-
Satan. You're not Satan.
How, I was just thinking, I wonder if that affected, I mean, well, Jesus knew Satan anyway,
From
but just being around Satan, having him close by you in that way has to really grab your attention. You have to, your awareness has to be on peak,
when
I would think.
yeah,
around
when you're
Satan, because he's such this evil thing.
well, now he is evil, but
You know, he's got to have
Yeah,
some kind of a
but-
vibe.
he will appear as an angel of light.
That too. Yeah.
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
But Christ knows the difference.
yeah. Well,
He knows.
yeah. We would talk about him being a shape shifter today. I mean, he can be whatever he wants to be in order to meet his purpose, and he will do it. And yes, I think Christ would be worn out. I mean, yeah. Well, and no, and keep in mind, bad companies corrupt good morals. We're told by Paul and others, watch who you're around because we know they can have an influence factor. People that have a very gregarious aura about themselves, there's the word, they're going to be able to influence you. Politicians are able to influence you. They're able to get you to buy what they're selling. A good salesman, huh?
Car salesman.
It,
Furniture salesman.
I haven't done that in many, many years. But yes, any kind of salesperson, they're going to be able to get you to where they want you to be. And it's not just them. It could be anyone.
It's an emotional wear.
And you have to be mindful. Mr. Lorsch, you had your hand up.
I was gonna say Satan can be any one of us if we cause another person to fall away from God or to not do according to God's will. So I could be Satan for someone, or you can, because someone just said, "Oh, Bruce, you can't be
It's
Satan."
all right, I'm
But
a people.
Satan can use you because of your attitude towards somebody or whatever. You could cause someone to sin and cause them to leave the church. Or, not you, but any one of us can do it. So
Yeah, no,
we're looking for this specific Satan, but we could be Satan in someone's life.
And let's be honest, just because a guy's a preacher doesn't mean he's immune from it. In fact, quite the opposite, because they have an influence over others. And for whatever reason, don't ever do this to me. But they kind of have a tendency to put them up a little bit higher. Don't. They're just people. And the minute you do that, you set yourself up because they can take advantage of you.
Set yourself up for disappointment.
Yes.
Because you realize that they have feet of clay.
Yeah. I've got these new whiz bang shoes, not clay, but they do. And very much so.
When I was first a Christian, I had that, the preacher was like, "Oh, wow, he's so wonderful." And then something happens, you think, he's just a person.
He's just a people.
He's just a person.
Mr. Jim, you had a thought?
I was saying, you brought up a little bit ago about we need to help and uplift each other. And I just want to say, like with Tammy, I take a photo of our bulletin and send it to her. And also I tell her that various ones in the whole congregation and others are praying for her and all, and that uplifts her to no end. That there are, because I always kind of write her and say, "Hey, everyone's for you." So to give her some kind of, but it's really helpful, the prayers that are from here, when they're related, so she knows it, and I send the bulletin, because she's in a state of almost total pain 24/7. And so anything that is a positive for her is very important. But what I wanted her to know was that she's not in it alone.
No, she's not. In fact, I will let you know that the little bulletin we put out, I get emails from people all over the United States, and they're talking about different ones on the back page of the bulletin. And they're talking about different ones that are mentioned. And they're saying we're praying for them. This week, I got 2 or 3. One of which was from somebody I had no clue where they were from or how they even got it. And I asked Linda, I said, "Do you know?" "No." But they were very concerned, praying on behalf of Adam, for one, and for others as well. So the little things that we do sometimes aren't so little, because they mean a lot. So you can let Tammy know that not only is she being prayed for here, but for people in Oregon, in Washington, in Missouri that I know of, that people are saying, "We're praying for the people that are on the bulletin." And I really appreciate that. So we can comfort one another by angels. The next thing we know, we don't know much other than he goes from the wilderness in Judea to the next time we see anything about him is over in John 2. And it's kind of interesting because it seems to take place right after the events early on with Jesus after he was baptized. But commentators go, wait a minute, now that's not right. And we got to fit the temptation in there in 40 days. And anyways, what we do have is this event. And it is an event that takes place in Galilee. More specifically, in Cana of Galilee. And so we look at it, and there's Jesus' mother's there. Jesus also was invited, his disciples, to the wedding. So they're there. And he's got his disciples with him. And Jesus' mother comes to him and says in verse 3, they have no wine. And Jesus said to her, woman, Adam, don't try that with your mother. You'll find yourself on the floor. Is he being disrespectful? Emil, I would venture to say you couldn't do that to your mother either. Oh, and I know Mary, Dolores couldn't do it to her mom. Oh, well, that's okay. That's acceptable. Is that something we can also affectionately refer to her as?
I don't know. She loved me. I don't know.
All righty. Well, anyways, he says woman, and it's not disrespectful. Not in the least. What do I have to do with you? In other words, he's saying, Mom, you've talked to me about this before, apparently. What do I have to do with you? I've told you, my hour, my time has not yet come. It's not time for me to reveal in totality who I am. He knows he's on a timetable. He knows there are things that have to happen, that it is a progression. And this is at the very beginning of his ministry. He's going to enjoy about a year and a half of popularity. And then everything's going to turn upside down. Some people say it turns upside down. The turning point is after the Sermon on the Mount. Because in the Sermon on the Mount, they're still following him. They still want to hear him. They're comparing different thoughts regarding him. Yeah. Some say that it's in John 8 or John 6 when he refuses to feed them the next day. But there are a lot of different times that it could be. But this is the early time. This is the early days. My hour has not yet come. And Mary does what mothers do, which is what? Look at verse 5.
Whatever he says to you, do it.
I didn't say that. I said it not at all. And I wouldn't dare call your mother what you call her. Ooh-wee. Whatever he tells you to do, do. Whatever he tells you, you do it. She had confidence in her son. She trusted in him. And whatever he tells you, you do it. You're having too much fun. Across the auditorium, seeing too much fun going on. That's good. When there's fun, there's learning. So, verse 6. Now there's 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification, containing 20 or 30 gallons each. Oh, it would have been impossible. Good grief, yeah. How much does water? 8 pounds per gallon. All right, so you've got about 160, figured roughly at the bottom end, 160 pounds each, plus the weight of the of the jar. And for that much water to be held, it's got to be a substantial jar. So you've got something pretty substantial. So, and they're there for purification. Jesus said to them in verse 7, fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, draw some out now. Take it to the head waiter. And they took it to him. When the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and did not know where it came from, but then parenthetically, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, every man serves the good wine first. When men have drunk freely, then that which is poor, but you have kept the good wine until now. All right, so you got the changing of the water to the wine. And there's a lot of things that was going on here, a lot of things people talk about. Was it wine like we know it? Was it simply grape juice? Was it unfermented? You know, do you have a problem if it's fermented? No. No. Brittany does. Jason's confused.
I lost the thought.
If it's fermented, what does it show?
Drink alcohol.
That is aged.
That it's aged. So he's master over time. Time. And just the mere fact of water to something else. What's that tell you? He's master over nature. He's master over quantity. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm just assuming they were invited to this wedding.
Correct.
So just assuming they had to know the family, the bride and the groom.
Okay.
The family. Okay. And my footnote mentions of weddings were a very special event, and they may have gone on for a week.
Mm-hmm.
But the food and the wine to run out was a social embarrassment, since the family had an obligation to provide a feast of the socially required standard.
So you're saying it was gauche.
So, right, to run out of wine, must not have expected that many people.
I don't know.
So to do that was a hoopla. And yeah.
Well,
So all that tied into the servants and the disciples, some of the disciples knowing what he did.
is Jesus advocating over imbibing in wine?
They had in the day. They had
Well,
limited
because the
source
water
of
wasn't
beverage.
always pure.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the wine acted as a beverage in place of the impure water most of the time.
Okay. But we're not thinking this is a drunken brawl or party of any kind.
It's probably alcohol. But it's not the quality of or the quantity of alcohol we see in our wines today. I worked for a winery for a while during my college degree time in the maintenance area. And they had to add alcohol to the wine, and they put it up to whatever the limit of the law would allow. So, and they call him the revenue man. He was a tax man, and he sat there watching them produce the alcohol and so he knew exactly what the company was making in alcohol and what was being added to the wine.
It wasn't Mogan David, was it?
No, it was the Regina Winery.
Oh, okay.
Regina.
Well, the reason I ask, Mogan David is 20% alcohol, and it's referred to affectionately as Mad Dog 2020. So they take it up to the maximum limit. See the things you learn about me. Some, you probably remember those days. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, whatever it was quality. And he changed it. He's master over nature, master over time, because it takes time to ferment, and over quantity. It is his first miracle. So who's the miracle for? Is it for the people at the party? Is it for his mother? His mother knows who he is. It's for the disciples. They need to know that he's got the credential, that he is who he claims to be, because they're going to be following him. And they're going to need to follow everything he said, and they need to put stock in it. And remember why John is writing his book. That you might believe. So John, when he writes this book, he's writing it because the Gnostics, by this time, had risen up and were really hammering the church. The Gnostics were. And so John writes this book to again remind people who Jesus is. And so he says, I'm going to put in select miracles, select teachings. And John does something the other authors don't really do. And that is, John really locks in on the last week. I mean, you can almost go day by day with John in the last week. From John, the 11th chapter is really quite fascinating. The resurrection of Lazarus from the dead, the immediacy of things happening as it gets closer and closer to the cross. So the last real big miracle that John writes about is the resurrection of Lazarus. So in this book of John, off the top of your head, what miracles can you remember? You got this one. It's the first one. You got the resurrection of Lazarus. What else you got? The walking on the water. Into the from the roof.
To be healed.
You got the man born blind. The what? The bleeding woman. I mean, you don't have 1.5 million of them, but you have ones that are relative to something that is really quite profound, that all go to support John's premise of why he wrote the book. So now you've got the turning of the water to the wine, and then you've got the discourse with Nicodemus. So Passover's at hand, but he does something else before he has the discourse with Nicodemus. Stay there in chapter 2. Verse 11, this beginning of his signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee, manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. And after this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brothers. What does that tell you now about brothers? He had siblings, which means what? Had more children. She was not perpetually a virgin, like some religions teach. She had children. And his disciples, and there they stayed a few days. Passover of Jews was at hand, and Jesus went to Jerusalem. And he found in the temple those who were selling oxen and sheep and dove, and the money changers seated. He made a scourge of cords, drove them all out of the temple. With the sheep and the oxen, he poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And to those who were selling the doves, he said, take these things away. Stop making my Father's house a house of merchandise. Did he sin? Why not? But wouldn't it have been a sin to drive all these things out? To dump the table over and knock the money on the floor? Did he? Why then did he tell the people who were selling the doves? What would have happened if he'd opened the cages? They'd have flown away. Could they have recouped their losses? Not with the dove. Okay, so whatever he drove away, they could go get. Once they got outside the temple, the doves, he said, nope, I cannot destroy those. I cannot open the cages. I cannot let them fly away. Would be in violation of their property ownership. Everything else they could get. Just get out of the temple. Now, verse 17, the disciples remembered that it was written, zeal for thy house will consume me. The Jews therefore answered and said to him, what sign do you perform? Do you show to us, seeing that you do these things? What authority do you have? By what authority are you doing what you did? Jesus answered and said to them, destroy this temple. 3 days I'll raise it up. Well, is the response of the Jews logical? Yep. Absolutely. The Jews said therefore to him, it took 46 years to build this temple. You'll raise it up in 3 days? But he was speaking of the temple of his body. John explains what's going on. Let me explain this to you. So John adds that in as a caveat in his writing. When therefore he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this. And they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had spoken. Now remember, when the Spirit came, the Spirit was going to do what? Bring to their remembrance all the things Jesus had spoken. All right, so the Spirit falls on them. When did he fall on them? Day of Pentecost. All right? So after he had been resurrected, now they have a Spirit upon them. They go back, wait a minute. Now they're beginning to put it all together a little bit more. Adam bought a model car. He hasn't started working on it yet. I bought Linda and Adam a wooden train that they got to put together, and it actually operates. They have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like when it's done. But after the fact, they're going to say, oh, this is how this went together. This is how this went together. Oh, and now I see it. They saw it. And John wrote about it here. John said, I get it now. Go ahead, Jim.
I'll say we have to remember in John 14:10, Jesus says, with regard to him performing miracles, Jesus said, do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does his works.
Okay, that's one that you and I are going to talk more about. And because, yeah, I agree with what he said there. I agree with what he said. And he said, I'm working because this is what the Father, this is what was agreed upon by deity before time was. And I'm doing my role. And that's what he's doing. Janice, our time is up today. Jason's anxious to get singing. So go ahead real quickly.
It just brought to mind when his disciples remembered that it was written, zeal. And I think that's in Psalm something. But the scribes and Pharisees and the Jewish leaders, they don't recall the words. They don't remember what is written. And then when we first opened with Jesus and the temptation, he told Satan multiple times, it is written. Have you not heard it is written? It is written, it is written. So we have to remember and bring to remembrance what is written.
Well, and
many
then we could get
instances.
into a really interesting discussion on how was he able so quickly just to quote those passages under the duress that he was
But
So-
even his disciples remembered what was written.
after the fact
Jews.
because
No, it says
they've
it
been
here.
inspired.
Yeah, it says in 17, his disciples remembered that it was written.
Yeah, but they're
See,
remembering
for your-
after the fact,
But after that.
after he was resurrected.
Scripture doesn't say Jesus or in wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah, as a human, yeah.
And he's still in the temple. He talked to
Yeah.
them in the temple about, grown up things, I think.
Grown, yeah. Good way of putting it when he was 12. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll pick it up. Did you have a thought, Miss Mary?
We can come back to it. What is it? All men.
And he wasn't entrusting himself to them. And then we're going to look at chapter 3, which is really a great discourse between Jesus and Nicodemus. And it's classic because he goes, "Teacher, we know you were from the Father. For no one can do the signs you do unless..." And Jesus goes, "Well, yeah, you're right. But I tell you, unless one is born of the water and the Spirit, will not enter into the kingdom of heaven." What do you mean? A guy's got to be born again? Yes. Are you a teacher of Israel and do not understand this? So he goes into this great discussion, partly on theology, part on doctrine, and just begins to blow Nicodemus out of the water. John 3:24 is an excellent verse in this chapter.